Hey, what's up? This is Mia, and today I'm going to show you how to make your own curtain balances. So, let's begin. So now we're to the curtain balances. I could have bought some from the store, but I like custom and I like hand making everything and DIY and all that stuff, if you don't already know. So I figured I could make my own. And while I was making them, I wanted to show you the process that I went through to make them. So behind me is an example of what I've already created. I created these a few weeks back. It took me about a couple hours to do it, let's say that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get this process started and sew us some custom valances. So let's begin.
In order to complete this project, we will need the following items.
So before we get started, one of the first things I'm going to show you is one of my finished valances. If you notice, there's some fabric that has the print on the outside, and then on the inside you just have white, or the pattern is very faded. This is fine because this particular pattern that I have, or this fabric that I have, I literally got it on clearance from like old time pottery. It was like stupid cheap per yard. So, and I liked it because it looked very cultural. So I decided to just go with it. I got a whole bunch of it for like, I don't know, 20 bucks or something like that. But there goes to show you that you don't really need to spend a whole lot of money getting fabric. So, but it's your preference. Me, I like to budget. So like I said, as you notice, the fabric is actually, it's not thin and it's not really thick, but it's thick enough to where it's still flexible, but it's sturdy, so nothing can tear it up as easily. And it's not too heavy that when it hangs on the curtain rod that it droops the curtain rod. So that's what we look for when we're trying to find the right fabric. Usually if you go to places like Joann Fabric or somewhere like that, or Old Time Pottery if you have one, they usually have a description of the type of fabric that you're dealing with. One thing you're going to notice, and I'm going to show you as well, is you will definitely know the difference between upholstery fabric and home decor fabric, because upholstery fabric is a whole lot thicker, and the purpose of upholstery fabric is heavy use. So, and then we'll get into the double rubs and all that good stuff, but that's at another time. And just to give you an example of upholstery fabric, I pulled out some scraps from my other fabric, upholstery fabric. Here goes the difference between the two. So you see the home decor fabric. This is upholstery fabric. Like I mentioned before, it's a lot thicker, a lot more sturdier. And then with upholstery fabric, you usually see the pattern very clear on the other side. But you'll know this is the internal, this is the external piece that's supposed to be, part that's supposed to be shown on the furniture. Same way with this one. This is upholstery fabric. The texture is different. It's a lot thicker, and you can see the design clearly on the other side. Versus on the decor fabric, you don't really see it on the other side. You see it very lightly, but it's definitely not as rich and vibrant as this one.
So the first thing we're going to do is measure and cut the fabric. So typically valances are about 45 inches wide and about 14 to 16 inches long when it's finished. So what you have to take in consideration when you're doing the length is adding about, I would say, 4 inches to the measurement so that you'll be able to fold the hems. So in my case, what I'm using is pre-cut fabric that I had designated for another project, but I decided to scrap that and use them to make the curtains. So my valances won't be as long, and the downfall of that is that instead of using like 2 or 3 per rod, I'm probably going to have to bump it up to about 4. So it's not too big of a difference. Now it's time to cut the fabric. So you can iron your fabric before or after you cut it. I decided to do it after because the fabric wasn't even really that wrinkled. I seen a few creases, but that was from folding. But I cut it across, and having that mark really helped out. Now we're going to work on the hems. The hems help your valance have a clean look when it's finished. We're going to do one on the bottom, the left and right side, and one wide enough at the top for the rod to go through. So for this step, what you're going to need is a ruler and a marker. I'm a firm believer in like pre-marking stuff because it really helps out when it comes to folding and cutting. So I just simply used a marker, a permanent marker, and a regular 36-inch ruler. Permanent marker can help considering that I'm using dark fabric, but they also have certain pencils out there that you can, sewing pencils that you can use that can wash off for those that are using lighter colors. And you can get those from Joann Fabric or another fabric store for like dirt cheap. So to make the hems, what I'm doing is measuring about 3/4 of an inch for at least the left, right, and bottom part, and I'm creating double lines so that I can double fold it once I iron it. Now once you get towards the top, then I'm going to start, not only am I going to do the 3/4 of an inch, but I'm also going to add an additional 2 inches for the curtain rod. If you notice, I kept the white trim on the fabric, and that comes by default with the fabric. Most cases you would cut it off, but in my case, since I was folding it and you wouldn't see it anyway in the hem, I just went ahead and kept it. Therefore, I wouldn't have to draw a whole nother line or have to guess, and I just used the fabric that I had pretty much. Another benefit to having the marker is that you can write down what area is the top, the bottom, and so forth and so forth. This helps out if you have fabric that is going in one direction. Sometimes you can get so caught up in trying to make the curtain or make the decor that you just forget which direction it goes. So I write it down to just kind of keep me going and keep me aware of what I'm doing. I may even add an arrow in there from time to time depending on what I'm doing. Now it is time to iron. Ooh, my fault, iron. I said that hard too. Jeez. Anywho, so in this case, I'm going to iron the fabric. Like I said, you could have did it before, but since I just didn't feel like going all the way upstairs and downstairs and back and forth until I get my ironing board together, I'm just kind of running up and down steps. So I decided to do it all in one kick. Anyway, you iron out the fabric, and then you go back. Once you iron it out, then you go back and you fold it and you iron it. So hence now you can see why I took out the extra time to draw the lines. It makes it a whole lot easier in the long run, and it makes sure that your project looks pretty when you're finished. Once I am done ironing all sides, and this includes the double fold and everything, then it's time to move it to the next step, which is sewing or using the liquid stitch. Alright, the final step, sewing all 4 sides. So first of all, you want to get a thread that is close to the color of your valance, because if you do, unless that's your design style, but if you do a different type of thread, it's going to definitely stick out. So in my situation, I went ahead and stuck with the black because it won't show up as clearly as if I was to use a white or a red. Once again, it really changes on your preference. Secondly, you want to make sure that you sew between 5/8 and 7/8 because you want to make sure that the thread is on like along the edge of the hem, but not necessarily so far off that you can accidentally miss the hem. So I went ahead and sewed all 4 sides, but what you're going to notice is once it got to the top, I went ahead and unfolded it first, sewed the 3/4 inch hem, then I folded that down and then sewed the 2 inches at the bottom for the curtain rod. Now this is one way that you can sew. Another way for those that don't have a sewing machine is using something called liquid stitch. I didn't use liquid stitch in this video because one, I had my sewing machine already set up, and then liquid stitch takes about 30 minutes to an hour to dry, depending on the fabric and how much you apply. So liquid stitch is a good alternative, but you have to keep in mind that you cannot iron it while it's drying, because I know by default some people may be like, bump that, I ain't got 30 minutes, I'm trying to use this or get this ready now. With liquid stitch, it states that, hey, give us 30 minutes to dry and you'll be good. So if you have a little more time, or if you don't have a sewing machine, liquid stitch is a great alternative. After I got done sewing, I went ahead and cut all the extra thread off, and voila, you have a finished curtain valance.
All right, you guys, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a really simple process. Yeah, you could go ahead and buy it from the stores if you like, but me personally, I love to make it myself. One, because it just feels good to make something and to hang it up and just see how beautiful it turned out. And two, you can like share it with your friends and family when they come over and they're asking like, who made that? Where'd you get it from? And you're like, this guy, you know? So it's pretty awesome to do that. So the next project I'm going to show you is going to be my dining room table. So I took some chairs and table that were totally separate, put them together as one dining set, but there's still a couple of things that I need to do to it. I need to paint the dining table with my chalk paint that I made, and also I'm going to add some double cording to the seat, and I'm going to show you how to make that cording and how to apply it, because you got two ways to apply it. If you have not already, go ahead, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell. Also, if you have time, go ahead and check out our blog at www.cranberryvintage.com. We have our videos, but also I have a lot more details in the process that I do things, and then there's other posts that I make that you may not see a video about. So, and hopefully we'll do more things like classes and plans and all that good stuff, but that's coming down the line. But check it out, subscribe to that. Also, we have a Facebook business page now. It's at Cranberry Vintage Love. And then you have my Instagram page, Mia Hampton. And then you have, let's see, I think that's it. Go ahead, follow us, like us, and subscribe to us. It's a lot more stuff that we're coming out with. This is project number 2, and we got many more to go. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in. You all have an awesome day and stay super-tastic.